Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of my weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, which I build, write, and prepare for next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Max, Sauer, or Twirl, this stream is not meant for you. We're full of spoilers. The rest of you are always welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below if you'd like to support the channel. Please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20 for streaming. I use OBS Studio. It's almost Halloween. As of right now, it's the 28th. We actually my oldest had a Halloween party, pumpkin carving party today. Good stuff there. Got to help my 4-year-old carve a pumpkin. She really liked using a stabbing utensil and stabbing into a gourd, which is not the most finesse way to carve a pumpkin, but it kind of gets the job done. So we have finally made it out of the floating layer and into the Purple Rocks region. And unfortunately, I'm realizing I don't have I don't know what to show the players if we're not on a battle map. Like, I guess I could show them the Sword Coast map. Seems kind of lame. I wish I had like a regional map, I guess. I don't have that. Where are we? Right here. I mean, this is the closest thing I have is just this one little map of Utheral, and then I guess it'd be this, which is not even spelled correctly on this map. I just noticed it's supposed to be 2 A's and 1 L, I think. I guess the village is, oh, it's Vilkstead, not Utheral. I guess I should. I've been calling everything Utheral, but I guess, would you, if you welcome somebody, would you say welcome to the island or welcome to the town? It's the only town on the island. I wonder which name I should go with, or just welcome to the Purple Rocks. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any kind of imagery to show. Like, there's only 2 real pictures associated with this area. There's this one, which features presumably a bunch of like Kraken priests and Rocklanders performing some kind of ritual in the water, which is cool. But obviously very like a specific scene. And then there's this one, which is clearly just kind of a generic picture of a foggy village on the water. So that's all I have art-wise for this full area, which is a bummer. So I don't know what to do about that, because we're not going to be in I don't want to switch to battle maps too soon, because that kind of gives the party, I've talked about this before, where it's like they start going into combat mode, and like, all right, we got to start thinking tactically now, whereas it's not necessarily the case for all of these different scenes, which I'm trying to divide and conquer and organize this area by events and scenes so I can move my players along. And I know they appreciate having it developed that way versus a space they can explore, I guess. Because especially we're kind of late in the game. I say that, but I did do that in Rime. We had this like giant big space you could explore in the Rime campaign, and it was a long ass situation, I guess, with the Lost City. But that is not what this is. This is not supposed to be this, hey, you're in this big, end game area where you can go around and do all the different things. That's not the case. It's kind of a linear, like, just sequence of events in this village that just kind of, the whole goal is just to get you to where you need to go, which is the actual mega dungeon, as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's kind of the goal that I'm thinking for Utheral. And to do that, I'm dividing it up into just various scenes. And I guess partly the reason is I don't have all these nice like map things that I did with Rime either. Rime had a really nice like regional map I could use. We could stay on there for a while and point to things, and then individual areas I could create like maps for, or grab maps from other areas. But I don't even have a regional map, of the village here. I guess I could always make one. I've not actually made a regional map before, or tried to grab one. That's trickier because you kind of need it to be bespoke to that area. Instead, I'm kind of discouraged and saying like, well, let's just, again, make it into these like very specific scenes, kind of like Saltmarsh. Like, I don't think we really had a map of Saltmarsh. We just had, we had the whole haunted house quote. That was the area, that was the big battle map. But when we were in that town, I didn't really bother. I didn't even think using that Saltmarsh town. It's the same thing here. I don't think I'm going to actually bother using the town here. Instead, just divide it up into maps. So, and I know when they first arrive, they are absolutely going to have to get a long rest. They are, we saw how they're doing afterward. Gottwald is literally unconscious, having taken his hit points down to nothing. Twirl and Savra are both almost dead. Mac, I think, might be at like 20 or 30% hit points, like the first thing they need to do is long rest, and I can use that to my advantage and have the players arrive. I was originally going to deposit them because, again, it's tricky with them being teleported by the merit. It's kind of up to me on where the players end up in this area. And I thought, well, them arriving by boat is the most inconspicuous way of arrival versus them just teleporting and appearing in town somewhere. I mean, I could do that, but I don't know. It just feels like that would make. I guess that you always say like, well, where did the boat come from or something? But if I just have them in the middle of the village, like in an alleyway, maybe that could be interesting. Maybe it's like Terminator style, where they're just kind of in a area where nobody's looking real quick, and they just fall out of the alley, and everybody's like, "Where the fuck did these guys come in on?" I wrote a whole intro of them actually. The merit depositing them on like a rowboat, although I don't know why or how the rowboat was there. And then they can just easily make their way up into the village harbor as if they just arrived there. But I could just teleport them to the village regardless, and then the scene plays out the same, which Frannis will be the first one to meet them. And the players will probably be very suspicious because I'll paint the area as very, dark and creepy and weird. It's basically the Kraken Society headquarters, central corporate office. And but Frannis will be, although he's a Kraken priest, I'm changing that, by the way. In the initial story is supposed to be the Sea King of the area, but I think it'd be more interesting if he was just one of the Kraken priests, and he happens to be the only one who hasn't yet been like fully converted to the Mind Flayer colony. So the others have either been enthralled or intellect devoured, or in one case have literally just been replaced with an actual Mind Flayer out of all those Kraken priests. And Frannis is the last one. Either they just haven't gotten to him yet, or they're just leaving one, I don't know, not completely converted for whatever reason. Maybe as a more compelling liaison for people there. But he's very concerned, and he'll be the first to meet the party. He'll note that they are very, injured, and he'll assume that's just because it was rough getting here. And this place is very remote. Maybe he even assumes that they are worshippers of the Kraken Society that have pilgrimaged their way here, because nobody else would really make their way here. So he can maybe assume. And then that would also allow Toril to actually take over and be like, oh, yes, we are, of course, we're members of the Kraken Society. And Toril would immediately launch in with that, and that would be very genuine coming from him. But I would also expect that the colony would be very aware of the characters, probably very aware that they're nearby. I think the Elder Brain can actually like sense people. It's funny how we're using an Elder Brain again. Although I mentioned that at the beginning of when we were choosing Call from the Deep, I was like, gosh, we just had an Elder Brain as a boss fight at the end of Rime. But it was not like the big bad boss. Ironically, this one actually is, but it's also a brain attached to a Kraken. Is it under Celix 4 or Elder Brain? Celix 4. I have a little bit of congestion left. We're trying to get rid of it. The Elder Brain is aware of the presence of creatures within 5 miles of it that have an intelligence score of 4 or higher. 5 miles is actually not... how big is the village versus... I mean, I can DM my rule around that. I think the actual base is supposed to be up here, so that's like probably still 50 miles away, 100 miles away, something like that. But anyway, I like the fact that the Elder Brain can sense it anyway. Deep purple rocks. Smoke on the water. So when Frannis suggests, hey, here's a place where you guys can sleep. I told the party, like, hey, you guys will get a chance to long rest near the beginning of the episode. It's not right at the beginning of the episode. This is kind of what I meant. Like, hey, the first event will basically be you guys are going to get a chance to long rest. However, and I'm curious to hear all your thoughts about this, because I have not yet attacked the party at night at all in this campaign. I would like to do that with this long rest. This is the perfect place to do it. It's a dangerous area. It's very ominous, even though it's not hostile. And the bad guys know that the party's here, and they would try to ambush the party and do it as quickly and cleanly as possible. So my question is, I guess, twofold. One, do I even think to warn the party and remind them, being the overly kind DM that I am most of the time, that like, hey, maybe you guys should set a guard or set a watch or something like. Because again, we haven't had to do that at all campaign. Like usually, I'm more I don't know, proactive about like asking about that kind of thing and making sure that they're even when I had nothing planned, I would do it just to make them antsy. Maybe back in like the Tomb of Annihilation days, but and they did it a few times I think with Rhyme, even though I didn't ambush them that many times with Rhyme, at least at night. And here I haven't done it at all. So my first question is, do I even care to remind them that they should treat this as a non-safe area and that it's not going to be an automatic long rest, or do I just let them continue on and it's up to them to say like, hey, we need to set up some stuff or not? And then my second question is, and this is kind of a generic question actually, whenever you launch an ambush at your party, do you have that ambush interrupt their long rest where they haven't gotten the benefits of the long rest yet, so they have to fight this battle while they're still very weakened, but the advantage is they would then be able to long rest anything that happens in that battle? Or do you let them get the full benefits of the long rest and then trigger the ambush so that they are fully rested from their long rest, and then the fight happens, but then that fight eats into their next adventuring day? I think it's an interesting question, and one thing that may affect your answer is the fact that this will be a level up long rest. So it's going to be a very big deal depending on if they are able to long rest before or after my planned ambush, because they'll be able to level up, which is going to take a while. It's going to kind of throw off the pacing of everything, right? Like anything that I do, like, okay, now we're going to like basically pause the session for, whatever it is, 20, 30 minutes maybe, to go through and do level ups. Hopefully it's not that long, but go through and do our level ups and talk about all that stuff and get all that done. And then do I come back and be like, all right, and then you've finished leveling up, but now you wake up and you're encased in water and you're being attacked by these creatures. So, and while I ask that, I'm gonna go over, I did find a map. This is of course Gabriel Picard, the main map artist I use on Roll20. This is from Slapdown Town Village, I believe, which has a lot of kind of building maps to use. I had to double the size. I don't know why they're all super tiny. I doubled the size of it. It's supposed to be like a communal longhouse is what's in here. There is a slums version of these kind of maps that fit my visual of what this place was, but I couldn't find the slums version of this particular map, which is actually, I think, supposed to be like an inn. But I wanted an area that had like this communal. It was like a big area basically where the players could go. It wasn't like they were being given a guest house. In other words, I thought that was weird, but maybe I should do the guest house thing. I don't know. But instead it's kind of like, hey, you've got rooms in like this inn that you can use. That feels more normal. But then when they get attacked, like the inn will be like empty, or just maybe other dudes just don't care and they'll be all weird about it. But the creature I want to use, and this ambush, is this actually from the book or is this me doing it? I don't even remember. I don't think they normally get attacked at night necessarily. Okay, this is... no, it's not that one. Desperate Flight, I guess. That's a different one, though. So that's, yeah, a group of Rocklanders burst into the Longhouse looking for him. So they're actually chasing Frannis, which is 3 Mind Flayer, Thrall Berserkers, Deep Scions, and the Mind Flayer. They try to seize Frannis. And so he goes to the party. Okay, so I'm changing that, basically. And instead of them trying to get after Frannis, I'm going to have Frannis actually show up and try to warn the party, like, hey, I think I just want to make sure you guys are okay. Like, things have been weird, and I think I've been hearing some things about my fellow priests have heard about these new arrivals, and I just want to check up on you guys. And then obviously he finds them in the middle of this battle with these creepy creatures. So, and he'll be, and the party may, blame him for that or whatever, but he'll help them fight them off, basically. All right, so let's see. Sylvan says, wait until What does it say? Tomorrow, all their long rests have been in safe places. Oh well, up till now, I see. Up till now, all their long rests have been in safe places. Yes, I agree. They've either been on their ship or they've been in some relatively safe. It's been a very different campaign than the last two I've ran, where the last two were in very exotic, treacherous areas that required like all those long resting rules. Whereas this one, they've almost been able to have like their full adventure and then go back to a hub and long rest, and their full adventure and go back to hub and long rest, or occasionally be able to just long rest at sea. And trying to spotlight takes away the surprise factor, which I would argue is key to the encounter. In this situation, give them the long rest and let this be the first encounter of the new day. Yeah. The precedent is they can only long rest in safety when traveling. Depends on how weak they are. If they are weak enough to be a challenge but strong enough to overcome, I'd interrupt the long rest. Otherwise, I'd give them the long rest or at least a short rest. So, we could look at the balance. The big thing is the players are so out of gas and they have fought literally so many battles. The only thing where I would feel honestly kind of shitty as a DM to be like, all right, and here's finally your long rest. Oh, wait, I'm going to interrupt it for one more battle. Granted, the battle is supposed to be more about like the creepy theme of it rather than like this is supposed to challenge the party, but I'm still using creatures that would hopefully scare the party at least. So the creature, we can go over that if that affects it too, is the Slithering Tracker. This is actually used in Call from the Deep, but in a completely different context. And I thought it'd be cool to use it here. This is a ooze that looks exactly like water. So it can, in other words, it can go through, squeeze through doors and everything. It's a great assassin. Climb ceilings, false appearance. It's got a stealth of +8. Like it just sloshes along like water. So if the party's sleeping, I just don't even think they have any chance of detecting this thing. Blindside of 120 feet. And its ability is main ability. It can slam people, I guess, with its ooze appendages. But Life Leech is that as long as the creature can see within 5 feet of it, I guess see, it's got blind sight. The creature must succeed on a DC 13 dex save, which again, if they're asleep, they automatically fail dex save. So again, you're just a fucking sleeping target. And then you are grappled and restrained and unable to breathe unless you can breathe water, which I think Toril and maybe even one other can breathe water. I know Toril can. In addition, the grappled target takes 3d10 necrotic damage at the start of each of its turns. So really creepy the way you would like wake up and all of a sudden just be enveloped in water and like you can't get it off. It's like all over your face and body and shit. And then you're just like choking and taking damage every turn. That feels really creepy and cool. While grappling the target, the Slithering Tracker takes only half any damage dealt to it rounded down, and the target takes the other half. So pretty damn dangerous, I think, mainly because of that sentence. If as long as the creature is grappling you, then you take that half damage. And so many of the party's like almost dead right now. And 3d10 is probably no joke. That's 12 damage, 23 damage, 22 damage. Oh my goodness, I'm rolling really good on damage there. But that's an average, I think an average of like 15 or 16. I'm just rolling good on damage. Those last two rolls. And I would definitely have a Slithering Tracker for every PC. The party also does have a lot of NPCs with them. I think I'm planning story-wise on having the Tritons actually say, hey, I know where we are. Our main Triton headquarters is not too far from here, which is true, actually, I think. Let us go back to reconvene with them, and then we can bring a bunch of reinforcements, at the most cinematic appropriate time, basically, to help you guys when we can. We won't forget about this and all that, and we'll report our findings and stuff. Plus, Harley just went down to 0 hit points in the last fight. Like, it just kind of makes sense, and to get rid of some of their NPC baggage. So I'm going to plan on doing that. That still leaves Borges and Sandbelay with the party, though. And I guess they're just going to be with the party, because unfortunately I'm in a situation where I don't have... The party doesn't have a way to, like, drop them off somewhere safe at this point. So I guess they're just kind of committed. I don't know. I completely forgotten I was going to give them Sandbelay, and they've got Sandbelay now. Also, they may technically have the Merid still. That's going to be an interesting thing. Like... That's really going to be up to the party. The Merid made a deal with Gottwald, but Gottwald is unconscious now. A deal, but I mean, it was like a handshake agreement where it's like, hey, if you free me, then I will help teleport you all out of the situation to where you need to go. Obviously, the to where you need to go was kind of a monkey's paw situation, because now this is where they needed to go, but maybe they would have liked to, go back to Neverwinter first. But the party technically doesn't have to honor that. They can be like, well, no, I want to keep you. It's the classic genies thing. It's like, no, I'm not going to free you. I'm going to keep you and use your enslavement to my benefit, which is I'm changing the rules of the Marid Conch, and it's not going to be the traditional Genie's Land, but it's just like, hey, you can summon the Marid 3 times a day, and then it's the Marid stat block, and it can do whatever, but it'll follow your commands. That's a very, very powerful to have that on the player side, and I can see why they want to renege on the agreement and simply keep the Marid, who would be very pissy about the whole situation. And maybe Gottwald would come back to and be like, no, we need to honor this. But I'm willing to go either way. If the party does agree to destroy the Marid Conch and free the Marid, then I will reward all of them with inspiration, which I don't do a whole lot of inspiration, especially when the players get higher level, because it's just really powerful, and I don't know, I'm a stickler about it. So that would be one way to just get party-wide inspiration. But they may have it with them. I'm going to let them have that choice. They're very tapped on resources, yes, and they just come out with a very big fight. Agreed. Like, they have like no hit points left. They absolutely need the long rest. That's kind of why I'm leaning towards the one where it's they long rest and level up first, and then they are attacked, ambushed by these guys. I think the party would be okay with that. And still is painful because you're like, gosh, I just did my long rest and now you're already like doing this to me. This is crazy. Versus like, oh shit, we are like almost dead and now we're being attacked again. Like they're gonna be so paranoid about getting that long rest, right? And I feel like at this point, at least now they're like, well, now we don't want to like long rest. We're super worried, and that kind of, I don't know, creates a really dangerous precedent. So I think I'm leaning towards going ahead and letting them. We'll go through that cutscene first of getting them here. And meeting Frannis, and then given the longhouse to rest in. It'll be interesting if they have the foresight, the forethought to actually set a guard, to realize like, man, we're not in a very safe place, or are we? Like, and I'm not. They may think they're in an okay place, and especially with Toril being like, yes, of course we're pilgrims of the fathomless and everything. They're like, all right, fuck it, well, I'm just gonna pass out in long rest. So I probably won't offer that information in terms of like, hey, do you guys want to set a guard or anything? I'll probably just say, okay, let's long rest and let's go ahead and level up fully and do all that. But then, after several hours worth of long rest, because you guys need a long, long one, you wake up to this. And this will be a situation where, assuming they don't set any guards, I'm basically going to hit every single one of them with this. Like, I don't even know if it's worth rolling stealth checks versus unconscious people. Like, if you're sleeping, you're unconscious. I think we're all in agreement of that, right? Which I think you automatically fail. Let's see. What does unconscious say? Is unaware of its surroundings. So if you're unaware of your surroundings, then you don't get to make perception checks, correct? Like, I don't care what your passive perception is, you're unconscious. So if that's the case, then there's no stealth check. These guys just get to get up on you. You could argue that if they were making an attack roll, they would still have to make... Well, no, it's because it says attack rolls against a creature have advantage, and then if they hit the creature is a critical hit. However, they're not going to make an attack roll with this particular creature. This creature forces a dex save. And as part of being unconscious, creatures automatically fail strength and... Is this too evil for the DM to ambush a sleeping party with specifically a creature that just triggers the dex save throw? But you're unconscious. You can't actually make a dex save throw, which means I think this attack is automatically going to hit. If I'm understanding the rules correctly. So they can't detect them because they're asleep, and they can't make a dex save because they're asleep. So this is the perfect fucking ambush creature, because it can just slurp its way in. It's an ooze that can go in 1 inch wide space, undetectable as water, and then it just sloshes over you, and then you wake up, and I basically just say, okay, suddenly I need all of you to roll initiative, and you all wake up like encased in water with I guess I can describe what the creature looks like, 'cause it's really fucking creepy. Like, encased in water with the water's like forming a face, like a humanoid face with its mouth open. Like, just get real fucking creepy with it, I guess. And it's all of them. Might be thinking they're having a nightmare, honestly, which would be cool, except I'll be like, roll initiative. And then they're all grappled, they're all restrained, they're all unable to breathe, and they just all start taking 3d10 necrotic damage at the start of each of their turns. That's that's pretty gnarly, honestly. They're gonna need a short rest after this fight. What'd you do to us, DM? Now they can all start getting out of it. It's a strength check, I believe, right? To get out of that situation. Escape DC 13. Pretty easy for Gottwald. The others may struggle a little bit. I don't know what Mac and Twirl's strength check. Am I correct that escape is just a strength check? I don't know if escape is a... It's funny is people are always grappling me as the DM, and I never think to escape most of it. I think it's just a strength check though. So they can choose to do that, or you'd probably have somebody like Sabra who's like, fuck this, and just like teleports away and thunderous booms everybody, which would be fucking hilarious. But that's certainly an option. Twirl actually wouldn't be unable to breathe. Oh, although it's interesting if I could make the argument if you're unable to breathe and you're unable to cast somatic spells. That would be a real stickler of me as a DM. But I think that the players have been casting spells underwater, so I don't think I really worry about that. What a creepy thing to unleash on the party, though, which means I love it. They are vulnerable to cold and fire, interestingly enough. So they have weaknesses. Also, they only have an AC of 14, average of 39 hit points. So they're not super strong, but it's the fact that I get to ambush them while they're asleep. So they basically start with this horrifying condition. And then, if they're still grappling the target, and they instead want to just like pick up a weapon and start battering the ooze that's on them, then they literally take half the damage themselves, which is fucking hilariously brutal. Does Cheese have to sleep? If not, then technically you didn't really ambush them. I don't know. All the crew going with... I could, but the idea is the Tritons are going to go underwater. I guess Borgus could, too. Borgus could follow. They're all going to go underwater to go back to the Triton thing. I don't think Samblay can really follow. He's just a dude. It would be so sad and hilarious if they rescued Samblay only to have him die here. Long rest can only be taken in safe locations. I could choose to turn one last time if they're choosing. Yeah, it could. It could definitely show up. And I've got a lot of kind of those, not necessarily Deus Ex Machina, but I don't know if there's a tropey term for that, where like somebody from your past that's somewhat relevant happens to show up at the most dramatically relevant time. So for example, the Aboleth that they have been kind of working with this whole time could show up at the end. The Black Dragon that Savra befriended could show up. Samblay's already shown up. The Kraken I already used as a means of that. Sorry, the juvenile Kraken that they spawned off of Slarkrithel and tried to like imprint, I don't know, Mind Flayer-isk to escaped and then later destroyed one of the Black Armada ships. So you could have that creature show up. So I've got several different options and creatures I could have that could show up for that role. But yeah, certainly the Merit could as well. But I like the idea of the Tritons. That would feel the most relevant, is if the Tritons leave at the very start of this session, before they even really do anything in the village. Which I guess that's really the reason I want to start in the water, because then if they're on the boat, then the Tritons can be like, oh, I recognize these waters. I know where we are. Like, we can go off and go back to our fortress, and then later I can have all the Tritons arrive, and then that feels at least a little more sense, I guess, than having, again, the Aboleth or the Black Dragon or somebody like really show up almost randomly. It's, oh yeah, I've been following you this whole time or something, versus like, oh yeah, the Tritons, we were just with them and they went away and they told us like we'd come back. Yeah, Han Solo showing up. But at least, I don't know, that one's fine. This would be more if like the Black Dragon showed up, it would be the equivalent of like, I don't know, one of the Jawas like just showing up at the end or something. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, who are you? Why are you here? You don't have a big stake in this. Needs more Jawas. TD. Am I correct in these rules though that the unconscious party? I assume Cheese has to sleep. I don't know. How does that work with the stupid Drake Warden? No creatures, unless they just pure magical, they don't have to. Drake Companion. Magic summon the Drake bound to you. Phase your command. See its game system company Drake Companion stat block. What's sad is I don't think Cheese was even there in the whole last fight. So you could honestly argue, or well, yeah, he was. Never mind, he was. They were using his reaction. Never mind, he was there. I'm making that up. I mean, he counts as a straight up dragon. He's not like Faye or something. So yeah, I'm gonna assume Cheese has to fight. Also, who says Cheese would get to detect it anyway? What's his perception? Would be like a 12 versus the slithering tracker's like 18. They drop him. Oh, so he does it on purpose. It drops him in the water and they have to take out the folding boat. The problem is I don't think the Merid would be stupid enough to piss them off when they're still holding the Merid conch. It'd be like, and that's what you get for attacking me. Now please free me. And the players would be like, fuck you. Definitely not freeing you now. Especially because I think Savra's the one who's actually holding the damn thing. How many slithering trackers do we need then? For the party. Because we've got Gottwald, Mac. These are large beds. Maybe I shouldn't have doubled the dimensions. Well, the problem is the beds aren't actually in the middle of the grid either. They didn't quite fit as well as I was hoping. Let's see. Savra, Toril. And they have... I think I'm going to forcibly remove the Tritons, but they could have Borgus and they could have Sambalay. Oh yeah, Sharky's no longer an ally. Sharky. Sambalay is, though. Do we need to go back to the other map to add him? I forgot where the hell he came from. Which was Seeking Tentrix. There he is. Let's grab you, sir. Okay, so we've got you. Oh, shoot, that's the old Borgus. We need new Borgus. I never updated the token for Borgus. Poor Borgus. Where did Borgus go? There you are. Let's bring you here. Okay, so the most amount of people they'll have, I think, is 6, because I think I would force the... force the... I mean, I can kind of cheat and put their tokens in the middle of the bed. It looks better, but they're not technically in the grid, are they? And then it would be a tracker on every person. Developing them. That's 6. They would literally have 6 of them on here. I guess I could roll hit points for them all as well. Let's see where we get. Lowest is 34. The highest is 47. Not too much variance there. Make them blue. Blue 1. Blue 2, blue 3. I don't know, the last thing they want to do is unfortunately have a fight, but like, I don't know, man. It feels like the appropriate thing to do here. Try to ambush the party. They're in the relative lion's den here, the Kraken's den. So it just makes sense that they would be ambushed when they're at their weakest, supposedly. It's also be dark in here too. Players would not be able to see. They'll be seeing like this. A lot of them would be, which would even add to the creepy factor. I think only Gottwald has dark vision. That's because of his rune. Yeah, so it'd be like pitch dark. Only Gottwald would be able to see the rest of the room and what's going on in there. So they would wake up. Oh, I talked about how much Matt can do in a turn. 3 attacks with the sword doing half and half damage on top of 3d10 necrotic damage. Right, yeah, because he would go that quickly. And I like the way he would roleplay. I was like, oh, I'm going to attack that quickly and not realize that I'm taking half the damage. Would be pretty bad. It's an interesting challenge, I think. And I mean, they're only CR3, but I'm including literally one for every PC. And again, I think the whole fact that they're like literally asleep when I'm attacking them. You could also claim that Gottwald is not sleeping in his armor when this happens. Although AC doesn't really matter when it comes to this deck save situation. But if they do break out of him, this thing doesn't have a recharge though, does it? It can just keep doing its life leech. That's terrifying. So you could spend your whole action getting out of it, and then next turn it could just slurp over there and do it again. Although then that time you do get to make a deck save. It's not automatic. Ooh. And when they wake up, they're restrained, which is also bad. Right? God, do they have disadvantage then? Grappled and restrained. Actually, you don't have disadvantage on the strength check to escape. You have disadvantage on dex saving throws. So that's interesting. But you would have disadvantage. So if you do want to attack the creature, you're restrained. Literally, the water is enveloping you. So you could attack the creature with disadvantage, and then if you hit, it does half damage to the creature. My goodness. Yeah. I thought there was some kind of rules for that, but I'm glad you said that, Sylvan. Can't take a long rest in long armor if they do, or in armor if they do sleep in armor, they take a level of exhaustion. Samurai have alarm. I don't know. I don't know if he would think to do that. He does have some low-level wizard stuff. He has Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion, Ray of Frost, Charm Person, Color Spray, Magic Missile, Silent Image, Magic Mouth, and Scorching Ray. That makes him, what, like a 3rd level wizard, I think? I did give him close to max hit points. So he's got 42 hit points, but that makes him very, very squishy. And if he, if he stays with the party, there's a good chance that he would not survive. I mean, he could only probably get hit with that thing twice. And he's got no way of escaping either, so he would just probably get killed. Although you could, that would be an interesting way of getting rid of the NPC though. I mean, I could kill him, I could also make him roll death saves. But even if he does survive, the party might need to just stash him somewhere and be like, look, maybe you stay here in a different room. You could also claim that maybe the NPCs want to stay in a different room if I'm really feeling generous, and maybe because of that they don't get ambushed. Or if I again was feeling really worried, I could say that maybe they only send the 4 trackers to take out the 4 PCs, and the other NPCs can actually wake up and maybe try to help the party. But I feel like if the bad guys got the intel that they were here, then surely they would get the intel about how many people were with them. That's true. He can embiggen, which he probably would. Yeah, Gottwald's going to be the best one to deal with this, right? He's got the hit points. He's got the best strength check. It just sucks for the players, I know, that it takes a whole action just to escape. And then, like, again, the very next turn, there's so many of these guys that what's going to stop, it's not on a recharge, right? Like, what's going to stop me from just walking up and doing it again? Other than the fact that they get to now make a deck save that they couldn't before. But, you know, Gottwald's got like a +0 on deck save, so he could spend his whole action just escaping, and then I could spend my next action just wrapping him up again. And because I take damage at the start of the turn, then he would have to take that damage again. I like the last one where there are only 4 and the NPCs have to attack them. That might make it a little bit more fair. And then the NPCs can actually use their action, I think, to try to free the party members, correct? So I could still have them all in the room together, but maybe there's only the 4 slurping on the party. Slurping on the party. Or like I said, I take them and put them in a different room. And then maybe they can burst in and help the party. The only bad thing about bursting in and helping the party is I was literally planning on having Franus do that. In fact, do I have a token for Franus? I don't think I do. Maybe I can use one of these other tokens I haven't used before. I do have one for Deep Lord Ingramar, who's like the boss of the Kraken priests. It's pretty cool. I have somebody that looks like a drow. There's a drow. Somebody could be a Kraken priest. I need somebody who's like robed. I may have to find a token that can do this. Because yeah, I picture all of them looking like similar to what the Deep Lord Ingramar looks like, which is kind of bald and tattooed, very Thayan, I guess. Can I use a picture from that handout? Sorry, so small. Almost. I wonder if I could crop a picture of this and turn it into a token. It might not be too bad, depending on what the resolution would look like. Would the NPCs even know anything was happening if they were too asleep? If the what I would probably do is, so assuming everybody bunks together in the same like barrack style situation, and let's assume I take out these 2, and so there are only 4 slithering trackers, and maybe the enemy just doesn't have that many that they can produce. You know, you want how many slithering trackers in this economy? So maybe they say, well, let's just take out the main party and screw anybody else who's with them. In that case, I would probably go a full round of just the party reacting and having the NPCs be asleep, and then let the party perhaps, but that might be further incentive if they manage to rip one of them off. They can shout and yell, and that would obviously wake up their allied NPCs. So that would be a big part of it. So now I'm actually maybe liking this idea a bit better, where maybe I'm only unleashing the 4. These 4 on the party, and that gives the NPCs actually a chance to maybe help them. But also I want Franus to show up and help everybody as well. So that also kind of changes the party. So it literally is going to be I think he's going to be a Kraken priest stat block instead of whatever he was before, which we've seen the Kraken priest used several times. Actually, I might use the generic Kraken priest. Have we used that one yet? Let's see. Kraken priest has no token. Gonna delete you and get a better token. Hopefully it's somewhere. I mean, yeah, Borgus. Always there to save people. There we go. Kraken priest from Mordenkainen's. Looks like there's different token art, actually. Yeah, we could. Well, we could use this one, but we might also have to use this one for. Wow, they actually do have tentacles too. That's cool. That makes the Mind Flayer pretending to be a Kraken Priest even more effective because if they all like, I don't know, just kind of hides his tentacles or something. I'm going to describe them as being robed though, and that's kind of why the Mind Flayer is able to kind of hide from them. It's cool art. I like that. But yeah, having a Kraken Priest burst in to help them would be hilarious. Although the half damage thing makes it really difficult. Like he wouldn't necessarily, and his strength isn't good for pulling him off. So he could try to help them by running up and doing his Thunderous Touch, but that would also perhaps do a lot of damage to the enemy. So hopefully he shows up while one of them has escaped from the creature. Yeah, I would have, yeah, Matt, I would have the NPCs show up at the door to help them, but I'm planning on having that be the Francis role, as a way to kind of ingratiate himself with the party. But he's like checking up on them and making sure, and kind of, and he wants to go talk with them privately too. He's like, hey, I want to, explain my concerns about what's going on, because when he first like meets them, he doesn't feel comfortable doing that. And it just happens he comes in here thinking that maybe they might even be in danger, and sure enough, they are in danger. So he can show up and like probably, I don't know. I want to time it. It's gonna be tough to timing. I may roll initiative for him secretly, like on the GM layer, and then whenever I feel like the timing would be not too early, but early enough to where he would still make a difference in the fight, I guess I'll have him show up and open the door, basically. But I definitely want to have him come in and be like, uh, not necessarily like he had concerns that he didn't know that they were going to be ambushed, but he had some concerns. But as soon as he sees that, he's like, oh shit, they're already like coming after you all and trying to take you out. So you guys got to be careful. And then he'll also tell them of a ritual coming up, which will further hopefully ingratiate himself with them, which is going to be another battle map scene, and that's going to be the tentacle. Oh, I can't even say that. The Temple of Tentacles. Yikes. Let's call it Longhouse here. So this map is also from Gabriel Picard. This one is from, I think, Water Temple, something Water Temple. I couldn't, the map, obviously I have to deal with all the maps in this campaign, which has been so much fun. It's been a huge drag. I think it's supposed to be open air, which I guess I could still have it be like sunken. The bad thing about this map is it's clearly designed to go like underground or something. It's got this kind of cave art around it, but it has the same idea where it's just a circular domed area with a kind of circle thing. I'd replace this inner water thing with a pit. I like the idea of there being like a giant water slide that goes down into the ruins of Escaro, and this is where all the Kraken priests would be. Standing in this kind of shallow basin of water, and they'll be like, sending people down there basically. And it's like a chute to send people down, and then they get transformed and they reappear, I don't know, somewhere else in the village. But that's part of what the Francis's concerns will be, is like, hey, like, we're the Kraken Society is not, without human sacrifice occasionally, but usually it's more like we're sacrificing, sea creatures and, dancing on the beach and stuff. It's not like this stuff has gotten really crazy and gnarly and dark. And they've been sending a lot of people like down this creepy, basically hole that goes down into these old ancient ruins, which is supposed to be a direct, we normally send a lot of food down there for the Kraken, a lot of very special meals we prepare and stuff. And now we've just been sending people, but then he says he's seen those people again return, but like they're changed. And I like the idea that it's the creepy, like intellect devour, like the Mind Flayer enthralling people. And this is all, it's all, the Kraken Society ritual is like a front now for the Mind Flayer colony. Which I think all of that is pretty cool, and I think the party probably expects all that, so they can just go into this temple and basically interrupt things or decide how they want to do it. But I like the idea that maybe it's kind of open air. I don't know why I like the idea of open air. I guess it can be underground. I don't know. if it's underground, that for sure forces them to go through this kind of main entrance area, I guess, versus open air gives them a lot of options. So maybe it's easier to do it underground, even though I think the Krakens would like the open air-ness of it all with their weird perpetual storm clouds that are overhead. But that'll be where Frannis is as a potential ally, even though he'll be pretending to be part of the same ritual. He basically still does the same thing, but he's really not liking his job anymore, and he wants a way out. So he's hoping the party will help basically fight, and then they'll have him as an ally. But they'll also have to fight. Fucking, how many are there here? So there's 5 total. So one of them would be Frannis, the ally. Then there would be 2 others that are just normal Kraken priests. Then there would be one that is Deep Lord Ingramar, who is wielding a Staff of the Magi and is actually a Warlock of the Great Old One stat block, although we might use just different kind of Kraken priests. I don't know. Because I don't know if they're appropriate enough. And this doesn't have to be a huge boss fight here. There's going to be like a bunch of enemies. I don't know if Ingramar needs to be a huge... I mean, the party have never even dealt with this person before. And actually, the other one will be a fucking Mind Flayer. So this could be an insanely huge, weird spellcastery boss fight, but not optimized for the spellcasters because the the proximity, like the distance, they would be right on top of the party. Now the party would know that they were tried to be assassinated against, so they could try to use that to their advantage and sneak into this place, maybe reconnaissance and do whatever they can. And then the bad guys would not necessarily expect them here, but it also means they can't just waltz in because that would probably start an immediate fight. I could also put a bunch of like random commoners around the area to really make it look like... In fact, if I wanted to make it open air, I could make it sunken. So I maybe paint this as more of a regular area and have everybody up like it's a stadium type situation. Might make things a little more interesting too. That would make it easier for the party to do some kind of ambush maneuver and have their upper hand there, which I'm okay with. Again, there's plenty of big combat fights. You know, we just had that Slithering Tracker one, so this will be one that they can actually prepare for, although Frannis will basically warn them like, hey, this is happening in the morning. I guess in the morning. I could set it during in the day, but I just figure like, hey, this will be the next big event they can attend. Other than that, so that's the Temple of Tentacles ritual. We've done the Slithering Tracker ambush. We can... There's one map that I like and one event that's this kind of cliffside ambush. Where's it mentioned? The one where they're like yeeting babies off the cliff. Yeah, right here, Children of the Deep. And there's Deep Scions here. I guess that's maybe how some of them were transformed too. Well, the original one, that's right. They got transformed into Deep Scions and not necessarily Intellect Devourers. For some reason, Intellect Devourers aren't really used much in this campaign of Mind Flayers. Probably because they're a bullshit stat block, actually. I don't know where it fits in narratively, other than this is a creepy thing that they can happen upon. And maybe stop, I guess, and just see it happening. They may just shrug and move on, but I could create like a little battle map of this situation, and then they can either think that this pit is the way forward, or maybe Frannis will give them 2 options. Maybe that's the way to do it. I'll tell them like, hey, there's this happening at this point during the day. There's gonna be a ritual at this temple, and then also I've seen people like wandering around, including the Kraken priest wandering around this northern tower, which is this area here, Northern Trisk. I'm just combining all the 2 different islands together. And that actually is another way that leads to the ruins of Ascarl. So the party doesn't know that those are 2 entrances, and neither does... Well, Frannis would know that this probably leads down to the Kraken. He'll probably say, like, this is a direct, like, line, and we usually pour, like, some food and some offerings and stuff down this water slide, but we don't usually put people down there. So I guess in my big immersive exploration-based zone, I'm actually just turning into a bunch of combat fights. Now that I think about it. But it's what the people want. I don't know. We can, I mean, they can choose to do more exploration-y things, I guess, and I'll have that stuff in the background, but um hopefully we can RP a little bit with Fran. It's like we'll have those scenes before and after um the fights with the Slithering Tracker, and they'll get some information, and then maybe they'll get some more context throughout the village, I guess. But ultimately, it just comes down to these kind of big events. And Trisk, we can make that more of an exploration thing too. Actually, once we get there, there is some fighting here, but I think it's actually more dungeon crawling and exploration than fighting. I'm scanning through real quick. There's ochre jellies guarding a shrine. I think there's a creepy Shoggoth is the one creature that's actually guarding the tunnel, which we might change that to something else. But I like the idea that maybe this is more like has puzzle and exploration versus combat, because we're doing a lot of combat stuff, aren't we? So maybe Trisk won't do so much of that. I do have a battle map that I can use that here. It's not the same art style, and the resolution's a little bit crapped out at this zoomed in level, but hopefully it will work for what I'm looking for. So a lot more details still to come, get all this together. But I think, obviously, the teleportation arrival here, the meeting with Frannis, the long rest and level up, which I think I'm leaning toward. We can talk about again on Thursday, but I think I'm leaning towards letting them get that off first and then hitting them with the, oh, by the way, you wake up just... Oh, I could flavor it as a nightmare. It would be really cool. Like you have just a drowning nightmare, but then you wake up and you're actually drowning in your bed. Roll for initiative. That would be a pretty cool way to do it, and a great way to wake up and basically start this new adventuring day. Welcome to level 11. You wake up, you're restrained and drowning by a watery ooze. I think that's fucking fantastic. And then the Frannis thing afterwards, and then we can basically tell them about the temple and the tower, and then also include the cliffside thing. So I guess I need to prep like all this stuff together, and just to make sure we're ready for all of that, depending on what order of events they go from there. And then that's probably all the events that I really want to do for Utherall, with the goal of just getting them to the Ruins of Escarl and the dungeon underneath, which means we need to start also putting that together. So hopefully Utherall may only take 2 sessions or something, maybe 3. Who am I kidding? It's probably going to take 4. Oh, well. All right, that is going to do it for this Monday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, as always, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shout out to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brennan, Genocide, Electric, Roleplay Roll, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Nathan, Kim, Krista, Counselor, Andrew, The Reldron, Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, I'm Olympus, Poet, Sharding, Warden, Harold, Yumona, LC, Tom, AJ, They're Eating the Dogs, Luis, Caleb, Chad, Luca, Nicholas, and Gold patrons RPG, Peppercraft, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Lizard Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Fezzik, Scott, Ruffus, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you for more crafting on Thursday.